Hello friends, welcome back to this video. In the last video, we were looking at user details IMPR. So this we have seen that user detail IMPR is an implementation of user details that is provided by Spring Boot. So basically the user details is basically for displaying the user information, and we have said that Spring Boot have no way of detecting your custom user classes. So we are creating a user details implementation so that we can map our custom user class to this service. Now, I want us to continue from where we left. I want us to add all this implementation into our methods. At this point, instead of returning null, why don't we return our authorities that we defined here? And for this get ID, we return our ID, the ID that we defined there at the top. We have defined this ID, username, email, password, 2FA enabled, and that is what we are doing. We are setting this field. There is also this email. We can set this email address here. For the case of password also, we pass our password. For the case of username, we also pass the username. For this case of account non-expired, I want us to return true. For the case of account non-locked, I also want us to return true. For the case of is credentials non-expired, I want us also to return a true. This is a boolean and we need to return a true. So is enabled, we also need to return this as a true. So this one will be true. We also want to return two factor 2FA enabled, so I will return this as is 2FA enabled. So that is all for this class. Now I want us to create another class called user detail service implementation. So user detail service implementation, and this class will implement the Spring Security user detail service, and the purpose of this implementation is for us to be able to get user details from the database. So earlier on when I was explaining to you how Spring Security works internally, I told you that the authentication provider or authentication provider, in this case DAO authentication provider, calls a method load user by username in the user detail service to get the username. So that is the class that I want us to create. So new Java class, I will call this user details service IMPR. This one will implement, this is just an implementation of user details service provided by the Spring Security. Therefore, we have to implement this method called load user by username, and I will annotate this with @service. Yes, I will annotate this with @service. So the first thing that I will do here, remember we want to interact with the database, and we interact with the database with the help of the controller layer. Therefore, I will define a user repository, a private final user repository. So let me inject this in my controller. So I am going to define at transactional earlier on in the start of our Spring Boot videos, I told you what is the purpose of at transactional with a code or with a good explanation. And this is for transactional management, managing the rollbacks and so on. So in this case, I want to create a variable called user is equals to, and this user, where are we importing this user? We are importing this user from our entities. We are importing this user from our entity. So this is user repository dot find by username. So I want us to go to our user repository and create a method to find by username. So let us go to our user repository, create a method called find by username, and this will be optional. Remember, optional is a feature in Java 8 to handle an NR. So optional user. So basically this one will come from java.util user. I will say find by username. Find by username. So I will pass string username. Find by username. So it will go into the database and find by username. So I will call this method here find by username, and here we are going to pass the username. We are going to pass the username. Now after this, we are going to handle some exceptions. So before this, let us handle some exceptions. Dot or else throw. If username is not found, we are going to return a new runtime exemption. New runtime exemption called username not found. Return new username not found exemption, and in this case you can define any method that you want. So in this case I will say user not found. User not found. Then I will return. You cannot directly return the user because Spring Security expects this to be of type user details. It has no way of knowing your custom user. So to do that, there is a method that we created inside our user details implementation to do this work. So if we go to this user details IMPR, there is this method, there is this build that we created to do that work so that our Spring can be able to detect our custom user model. So I will say user details IPR.build user. As simple as that. So that is all about the user detail service implementation. So its main purpose is to find user by username. Find user by username. So I want us to go to the next session. So the next session will be the JWT. It will be the JWT. I want us to work with the JWT. Remember, this is JSON Web Token. This is JSON Web Token. And I said that we are using JWT authentication in our case. So basically, what we are going to do is we are going to go inside our security, create a new package, call this package JWT. Inside this JWT, package, I want to create a new Java class, and I am going to call this JWT utils. So I told you, what is the purpose of this JWT utils? The purpose of this JWT util is to generate JWT token. I also told you it's another purpose for this JWT is to verify or validate the JWT token, whether it is expired, whether it is tampered with, and also to generate username from JWT token. So I told you, so I want us to define this with to annotate this with component so that it can be detected as a bin. So I told you that for you to be able to work with JWT, we need a JWT secret, or rather secret key, for signing the JWT token. So we are going to define this JWT secret inside our applications.property. So ensure that inside your applications.property, you have this property called spring.app.jwt secret. Spring.app.jwt secret. Define your secret here. Ensure that this is a string that is hard to guess. Then spring.app.jwt expiration in millisecond. This is the time when this is the expiration time for the JWT token. So define those two properties. Then inside our JWT utils, we are going to load those two properties. Remember, I told you that you load the properties with the help of @value keyword. You load the properties with the help of @value keyword. So that is not something new. So I want us to be a little bit fast. So I want to define private static final logger is equals to logger factory dot get logger. Here we pass our class JWT utils dot class. So I want us, instead of printing something on the console, why don't we do the login? So import this logger from SL4J. So let us load those properties. So we have @value, and that property was called spring.app.jwt secret. JWT secret. Let us call this secret, JWT secret. So let us get the other value, that is the expiration, the time taken, spring.app.jwt expiration ms for milliseconds. So I will call this JWT expiration ms. So this is the time taken for JWT to expire. So remember, where do we get this JWT from? This JWT is passed through the authorization header. We are getting this through the authorization header inside the bearer. So I want us to create a method, public string get JWT, get JWT from header, we are going to get the JWT from our postman request header or our application, or if this application is consumed by Angular or React, the header will be passed with the JWT token. So HTTP servlet request, HTTP servlet request. I'm going to call this request basically. So here I am going to say string bearer token is equals to request dot get header. Which header are we getting? The header code authorization. Get the header code authorization. So we can do some log here. So maybe log.debug. There are several login level. Log.debug. I can print this authorization header. Authorization header. Authorization header. I want to print you. This will be bearer token. Then I want to check whether this bearer token is null. If bearer token is not equal to null, so our bearer token should not be null, and our bearer token should start with it should start with the name bearer, then space. What do? We extract our token. Okay, so we are going to say return bearer token dot substring 7. This substring 7. So this will remove the bearer prefix. Else, if bearer token is null, we just return null. So this method, basically, what will this method do? So where we are passing, let me see whether I have an example. So if we have a project like parking service, and then we have create booking, I want to see what is happening here is we have a header called authorization, and this have bearer token. So what we are interested with is this bearer token. So we substring this by removing this bearer prefix. We remove this bearer prefix. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then there is space 7. And that is basically what we have done here. Return bearer token dot substring 7. But if bearer token is null, we just return null. That is the number one method to get JWT token from header. The other method is to generate token from username. Now this one is the one that does the token generation. So we are going to say public string generate token from username. Generate token from username. Generate token from username. So inside here we are going to pass user details. User details. Then here I want to say string username is equals to user details dot get username. We get the username from user details, then return. JWT has got a method, so return JWTs dot builder dot subject. So I want to pass the subject as the user name, dot issued at. So I want this to be issued at new date dot expiration. So expiration will be so let me import this date from Java. So this expiration will be new date. We construct new date. So and inside here we say new date dot get time. New date dot get time plus JWT expiration in millisecond. So this will be our JWT expiration new date. So new date. So inside here we need to do some little bit modification here. New date, then we cross here. So then dot sign with, we are supposed to sign our JWT token with key. We are going to define our key here. We are going to define, we are going to create a method for our key dot compact. Okay, let us create this. Create method key. So we have our method inside our method key. So we are going to say return keys, return keys dot hmark SHA-4 decoders. So inside here we are going to call decoders dot base 64 dot decode secret, JWT secret. So basically we are creating a method called key of type key that will just decode our JWT secret, and this our JWT secret will be used to sign this token. Then the next thing that we are going to do, so far so good, we have created all these methods. The next method that we are going to create, and I think this is to get the username from JWT token. Remember, most of the time when we are doing the sign up, we get the user details from the JWT secret. So I am going to say public string get username from JWT token, and inside here I am going to pass the string token. So I want us to extract the username from JWT token. So what do we do here? So we return JWT contains a method called parser. JWTs dot parser dot verify with. So we are going to verify with the secret key code, our key dot build. We are going to build dot pass signed claims, inside here we pass our token dot get payload. So dot get subject. Remember, inside our payload for generate JWT, we defined the username inside our subject. So that is it. The very last method in this JWT is to validate the JWT token, or rather verify the JWT token. So in this case, we are going to say public boolean validate. We are going to validate JWT token. Validate the JWT token. So inside here we pass the string or the token. We want to verify this token, whether it is expired, whether it is valid, whether it has been tampered with. So this will be under the try and catch block. Under here, first of all, let us handle the catch. So we are going to have multiple catch statements. So inside the try, we are going to say JWTs dot parser, JWT.parser dot verify with. We are going to verify with secret key. Remember, every JWT token must be verified. There must be a secret key that will be used to verify it. So we are going to verify with our secret key. Okay. So up to that point, I hope we are together, and I hope you are doing these things practically. So I will pass my key there, then .build. I am going to explain all these things so that you can be able to explain them clearly. .build.pass signed claims. Inside here we pass our auth token, there. Let me expand this. Then I will return true, because up to this point that means that the token has been verified. So the first catch statement, we are going to check for malformed or invalid JWT token. So I'm going to say malformed JWT exception E. Then inside here, we are going basically to log. So I will say logger dot error. These are all error. Logger dot error. I will say invalid JWT token. Invalid JWT token, and I want to get the exact message. E dot get message, not cause, but e dot get message. E dot get message. So I want to create other catch statement. The second catch statement is for expired JWT token. Expired JWT exception, and under this expired JWT exception, so we are going to say JWT token is expired. JWT token is expired. JWT token is expired. The other catch statement is for unsupported JWT exception. Unsupported JWT exception. Unsupported JWT exception. And for this one is JWT token is unsupported. JWT token is unsupported. JWT token is unsupported. The other one is basically for illegal argument exception. Illegal argument exception. So JWT claims string is empty. So this one we can say also JWT claim string is JWT token contains illegal argument. contains illegal argument. Then at the end of this, we are going to return. We are going basically to return a false. We are going to return a false. Why are we returning a false? We are returning a false because at this point, outside this statement, that means that our JWT has not passed our validation. It has not passed our validation. So basically, that is our JWT class. That is our JWT util class. So I want to explain that code step by step for the last time so that you can understand it in a good way. So let us begin with so ensure the first thing that you should ensure is that you have done the proper imports. So the other thing that we need to do is we have defined our logger classes because we want to do some logging, and after that we have fetched our properties, that is JWT secret and JWT expiration in microseconds from our environments variable. So we also have annotated this with that component to make this a Spring managed bin so that it can be injected into other components. Then we have created a method to get the JWT from header. This method extracts JWT from authorization header in a HTTP request. The JWT is expected in the format that I showed you earlier. So, and if the token starts with bearer, it removes the prefix and returns the token. Then now, I want us to go to this method, generate token from username. This method generates a JWT for a given user. The token includes the subject. This stores the username inside the token issued at. This sets the current timestamp. Then there is expiration. It adds expiration time. Then signs the token using the secret key. There is also a method called get username from JWT token. This method extracts the username from the subject from a JWT. It then verifies the token using the secret key and then retrieves the subject field. Then there is of course this method for key. Okay, this method converts the secret key from base 64 encoded string into a key object. It converts the secret key from a base 64 encoded string into a key object. Keys.hmark key for ensures the key is valid hmark key. Then we go to the last method, which is validate the JWT token. Validate the JWT token. So in this case, this method checks if a JWT is valid. If the token is malformed, it logs a malformed exception. And if the token is expired, it logs an error, expired JWT exception. If the token is unsupported, it logs unsupported JWT exception. And if it is empty, it logs illegal argument exemption. If no exemptions occur, the token is valid and the method returns true. Okay, that is the try part. That is the try part. So that is all about this JWT util class. So in the next video, we are going to look at the JWT tokens filters. We are going to look at the filters. So remember, we have talked about filters and filter chain. So the JWT token need to undergo JWT filter. So we are going to do that in the next video. So stay tuned. If you have not liked this video, I would like to request you to like the video, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so that you may be notified when I post more videos. Bye. See you in the next video.